Hello, thank you so much for joining us today to hear more about Art Fund Museum of the Year and more broadly about how Art Fund can help support your organisation, which you'll be hearing from our museum marketing team. Many people are still joining us, so I'm just going to give a little bit of a brief overview of what to expect from today's webinar. And hopefully as the room starts to fill out, we'll crack on. So hopefully many of you are thinking about applying for the prize this year, or perhaps you've even started your applications already, which is great news. And today we'll be sharing more details about applying for 2023. And at the end, there will also be the opportunity to ask any questions in a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. And I'm sure many of you are very well used to attending webinars, but for those who haven't joined one in a while, which includes myself actually, just a few reminders. So in this webinar format, we can't see or hear you, but we know that you're out there, but hopefully you can see and hear myself. If you do have any technical complications, you can't hear anything or see anything, then please do contact us in the chat box. Christian, who is running our tech today, will hopefully be able to help you. So although we can't see or hear you, we'd still like to know that you're out there. So it'd be great if you could tell us which organisation you work for and where you're joining us from today in the chat box, so we can get some interaction going. The Q&A box is open and that will be throughout the webinar. So we'll use that to keep a note of any of your questions at the end. So please pop any questions that come to mind. And also our colleague Becca is also on the call and she'll be keeping an eye from that perspective. And thanks everyone. It's really nice seeing where you're all coming from. So thanks for putting that in the chat. The webinar will run for about an hour and we'll also be sharing the recording, slides from today, and any links that we talk about in a follow-up email. So I think we'll get started. Okay. So a quick run through of our agenda today. Today's webinar is focused on the first part of the process for Museum of the Year. So that's covering the application process and also talking with our museum marketing team about how they work with successful applicants. And finally, more broadly, about how we can help support and work with your organisation. It is worth noting that if you are successful with your application and you make it to the shortlist, you will work with lots of other people from Art Fund. So today's just a snippet of the process. But yeah, if you make the shortlist, you'll be working with our digital and content teams, our communications and press team, and our design team as well. We would need a lot longer to go through everything with you today, so that's why we're only focusing on this particular element. But for those who are shortlisted, we will run special workshops with the wider team, and museums also receive a briefing pack as well with all of the information. So for today, we'll start with introductions from my fellow speakers. I'll then kick off with a brief history of the prize, the focus for 2023 and how to apply. Charlotte will then be discussing what happens next with her team if you are successful with your application and you are shortlisted. And finally, to wrap up, Jenny will also share the other ways that Art Fund can support you and the different ways that you can work with us. We also hope to have around 10 minutes at the end for any questions. So that leads us nicely to introductions. So if we could have the slide down so we can see everyone. Thank you. So I'll make a start. My name is Emma and I'm based in the programs team here at Art Fund. I've worked at Art Fund for about 4 years now, and in a previous role I looked after Art Fund's events. But I have the pleasure of being the project manager for Art Fund Museum of the Year, which means that I work across the project with both of our internal teams as well as the museums who apply and then go on to be shortlisted as well. Charlotte, can I hand over to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here today. So I'm Charlotte. I'm Senior Marketing Manager for Museums. So that means that I oversee our strategic museum marketing programme for our museum network. And within that network, many of you will be within that network, but we work with over 850 museums, galleries, historic houses. And so by that, I mean, we are both there to promote all the grant giving and audience development opportunities that we have at Art Fund, but also to amplify and market everything that you guys have got going on, and to share that with our wider membership and culture seeker audience. And I will just pass you over to Jenny in my team.
Hi everyone, great to be here this morning. My name's Jenny. I recently joined the museum marketing team as Museum Marketing Relationship Manager. I came from the British Antique Dealers Association, and prior to that, I was in a relationship management role in finance. My job is basically to make sure that all museums that we are welcoming into our National Art Pass are featured in all of our plethora of marketing materials and print products that we put out, which I'll talk about in more detail later, but also just being here in case you have any queries or any questions or anything that we can support you with more generally.
Thank you both. So if I can get the slides back up, Christian. Brilliant, thank you. So before I share more details about the 2023 edition of the prize, I wanted to give a brief history of Art Fund Museum of the Year. Hopefully, as many of you know, our main aim for the prize is to celebrate the very best within the sector. And we want to provide a platform for you, our UK museums, to tell their inspiring stories. So really the prize champions what you, our UK museums, do. We hope to encourage more people to visit your venues, and we hope get to the heart of what makes a truly outstanding museum. And 2023 is a special year for us in two parts. It marks 10 years of Art Fund Museum of the Year. So the first prize under that title was awarded to the William Morris Gallery in London in 2013. But there's been a prize for museums in the UK for the past 50 years. So we have a very rich history of prize giving in the sector. In 1973, the National Heritage ran a prize, and that was known as the National Heritage Museum of the Year. That evolved into the prize for museums and galleries. And from 2003 to 2007, that was administered by the Museum Prize Trust. And then further on from there, from 2008 to 2012, Art Fund became involved and we supported that prize. And that became known as the Art Fund Prize. So around 2012 to 2013, Art Fund then took over the management of the prize as we know it today. And that is Art Fund Museum of the Year. As well as marking 10 years of the prize, in 2023, Art Fund are also marking our birthday. We're 120 years old. You know, our core mission at the very outset, saving great art for the nation. You know, we do lots. We give grants and support out to our museums. So really encourage you to look at our website to see what other opportunities are available as well. But this means for the Museum of the Year, we have increased the winner's prize money from 100,000 to 120,000 to celebrate that birthday. That brings the total prize money to 180,000, with 4 finalists each receiving £15,000. And reliably informed, it is the world's largest prize pot for this particular type of prize. So hopefully that's even given you more inspiration to apply as well. Okay, so here we have some lovely images from former winners, former finalists, and I want to talk about who can apply for the prize. So we encourage all museums and galleries, historic houses, libraries, archives, or visual arts organisations from across the UK, no matter your size or your type of organisation, to think about applying. Since 2013, there have been 14 winners, and that includes a unique year in 2020 where we had 5 joint winners in recognition of the challenges museums and the sector faced during the pandemic. We have had 43 finalists. It was actually only until 2014 that we reverted to 4 finalists per year, as previously we could have had up to 9. So we had a very long list. And here's a little taster of previous winners and finalists to show really the range of the types of museums and galleries who apply and are successful. So from left to right, we've got the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, and that was winner for 2014. HMS Caroline, who docked in Belfast, they were a 2019 finalist. St Fagans National Museum of History, which is just outside of Cardiff, that's a 2019 winner. The Oxford University Museum of Natural History was a finalist in 2015. Glasgow Women's Library was a finalist in 2018. And finally, the Baltic Centre for Contemporary Arts was one of 2013's 10 finalists, and that's located in Gateshead. So hopefully just a taster really. There's many more. And if you have a look on our website, we have a great list of previous winners and finalists that you can read up on. We do have some exceptions on types of organisation that can apply, which I've listed here. I'm not going to go through them line by line, as we will share this, the slides with you all, and this is all listed in the guidance pack as well. But if you're not sure, or if you want to discuss further, then please do contact me and we can talk about that. So our judges, as you may know, the prize is judged by an independent panel, and we change that every year. Jenny Wardman, the Director of Art Fund, chairs the panel, and each year we invite 4 other representatives from the arts and cultural sector to take part. So this year, which hopefully you've seen in our press release, we're delighted to be joined by these 4 judges. So our first one, Larry, who is an award-winning artist working across film, still imagery, visual archives, live performance, objects and sound. His practice explores ideas surrounding class, gender, cross-cultural and digital identity. And you may have seen his recent solo exhibition, Wayfinder, which has been touring around various venues across the UK. Mary Beard, perhaps one of the world's best-known classicists. Mary is a Cambridge professor and fellow of Newnham College and has written numerous books on classical history. Mary is a regular media commentator and has made highly acclaimed television documentaries on the ancient world and the arts. We're also joined by Abadesi, who is one of our new Art Fund trustees, but also is founder and CEO of Hustle Crew, which is a diversity and tech community platform, providing inclusion education to employers. Laura Pye, who I'm sure many of you know, is the Director of National Museums Liverpool since August 2018, and her early career in museums was focused mainly on museum education, and she has a wealth of experience working in the north of England across Liverpool, Yorkshire and Lancashire. So the judges have the unenviable task of deciding who the 5 shortlisted museums are, and ultimately who the winner is after they visit each of the shortlist in person. So that brings me to applying for 2023, and hopefully you all have seen or read the guidance, which is available on our website, and that goes into much more detail. And thank you, Becca, you've just put the link there in the chat box. We really encourage you to read it, as it does help shape your application. And again, if there are any questions, my contact details are in there, so please do reach out. So in acknowledgement of the current cost of living and global energy crisis, we are seeking applications about activity that address this year's themes, and that is adapting to a rapidly changing world. Within that, we have 3 areas which we are keen to hear about. The first being empowering communities, second, building new networks and partnerships, and finally, working towards a sustainable future. So these areas might include the following types of activity, but it's not restricted to this. You may have other examples that you would like to talk about, but you might be working with a local group to inform your programming, or you've been involving young people or groups from diverse communities or underrepresented backgrounds to help inform, your exhibition program, or working more deeply with your organization. You might also be thinking outside of the box and partnering up with other organizations in new and surprising ways, sharing skills and knowledge. Or you could be working towards a sustainable future, and that could be in all of its forms, whether that be economical or environmental. You might be doing all 3, you might just be doing 2, you might be doing 1, but it doesn't matter. Those are just some ideas, but we're really keen to hear about your activity that does fall within those parameters. But whatever you decide to tell us about within your application, we want to know how it has positively impacted your audience as well as your organisation. One strict piece of criteria, and this is in the guidance, is that the activity that you tell us about needs to have happened in the period from autumn 2021 to winter 2022. So it's always for the previous year. So applying. So after you've read the guidance and you're happy to start your application, you'll need to do this online. And again, I think the link's just gone into the chat there. So that's done online at artfund.org/myartfund, and you would need to log into your professional account. If you haven't got one already, it's fairly easy to set that up. If you run into any issues along that kind of tech side, there are contact details on the page, but you can contact museums@artfund.org, or you can also contact me. So completing your online application will include telling us your basic information about your organisation, and contact details for the applicant. But the bulk of the application and the main part will be responding to these 3 set questions. So you have 450 words to answer for each of those questions. You also have the opportunity to upload supporting documentation or images or film links to help strengthen your argument and your answers. And we really encourage you to do that. The judges see everything, you know, whether that be links to your annual report, or if you have YouTube videos or things like that, please do tell us. Okay, so some key dates and information. Applications must be received by noon on Thursday, 19th of January. If you have any problems, as I mentioned, please do contact us. Please also look at the Museum of the Year page on our website, which has lots of information about the prize, as well as previous examples of winners and their activity as well. So slide there. Okay, so what happens next? So you've submitted your application. Each application is reviewed by the panel, and around 10 organisations will be longlisted, who are then invited to attend a short online interview with the judges. If you are longlisted, you will be given at least 2-week notice of that date and time, and you'll be told what to prepare. But usually the judges would set one question and the applicant would then respond to that with a short presentation. There is also then an open Q&A between the judges and the applicant to hear more about why you think you should be Museum of the Year 2023. Following all of the interviews, which is a very long day, the judges deliberate and make their decision on who the 5 shortlisted museums are. And whether you've been successful or not with your application, everyone will be informed by the 3rd of March. So my final slide, if you are successful, here's a taste of what will happen in the first few weeks of being told. So initially I will set up a phone call with the person who submitted the application or your key contact, and we'll talk through immediate next steps and what needs to be arranged. You'll also receive a shortlisted museums briefing pack, which has all the information you should require. One of the first things we need to get done is photography and filming to get ready for the shortlist announcement, and that will happen in early March. So we'll work quite quickly with you to determine those dates. And in the middle of March, we plan to hold an in-person collaboration day with our shortlisted museums, and you can bring up to 5 key contacts, and that will be hosted here at the Art Fund offices in Granary Square in London. So that's where you'll meet the whole of the Art Fund team, as well as your fellow shortlisted museums, and you'll hear more plans about the summer campaign. I just want to say that, needless to say, there is a lot of work that happens in those first few weeks, and we know that can be quite daunting at first, but just please be reassured that you know we have your best interests at heart, and we'll work really closely with you to make sure everything runs smoothly. And with that one key contact, me between whoever it is at your end, we can make everything quite smooth. So that's everything from me. Leads us quite nicely to our next slide and part of the agenda. So Charlotte will be talking about what happens next with the museum marketing team now that you've been shortlisted. Charlotte, over to you.
Thanks, Emma. Fab, I'll just move on to the next slide. So Yeah, as Emma says, once the 5 finalists have been notified, we will all sort of get together for this collaboration day, but we're super aware there is a lot of information that will be thrown at you that day. It's incredibly exciting. Everyone's sort of on a high from being shortlisted. So what we then do is sort of take you guys sort of back online when everyone's back in their organizations, and we'll do a sort of marketing dedicated sort of one-to-one. So you can bring in the right people, might not be the people that come to collaboration day, but then we can talk to you, and that'll be my team talking to you about all the sort of marketing activity that we will do sort of for and with you. So every year my team will sort of set out to achieve the following objectives in partnership with our finalists. So absolutely key for this is about raising the profile of finalist museums amongst as wide an audience as possible. We want to drive visits. We want those visits to be obviously online, on site, and in those community spaces that you're also working in as well. And it's really important that I want to emphasize here that absolutely there'll be peaks throughout this campaign period, but it's really important to us that this is just the beginning of working with us, especially if you've not worked with Art Fund and our sort of marketing support before. Absolutely central to this is obviously raising awareness for Art Fund Museum of the Year, especially in this sort of pivotal year of 10 years of Art Fund Museum of the Year. But what's really great about next year is, and you'll see this if you are lucky to be shortlisted, and we know this within the sector anyway, working with a kind of a cohort of peers, it's a kind of fun rivalry. There's a competition element, of course, amongst the 5, but actually there is so much to learn and collaborate on as well. And so depending on where you are, what the organisation sort of represents, what the collection might be, if it is collection, if it isn't collection, there's so many wonderful ways that we can work together, and it's really great to see sort of those ideas come out. A big part of this from Art Fund's perspective is motivating visitors with the National Art Pass to visit. So absolutely we want to see kind of a rise in membership visits throughout that campaign period and beyond. But as I say, because it's a special year, it's going to be pulling together the cohort from the last 10 years, and all of them wearing that badge of honour, be it finalist or winner. And you'll see throughout sort of some of my slides that absolutely that is a badge of honour. Obviously people want to win, but the kind of being part of this campaign has real national significance, and we're sort of really excited to share that further with you. So just a very sort of top line summary of all of the audiences that we will help you reach and who we will be communicating with. Obviously the 5 finalists for Art Fund Museum of the Year and all of your relevant staff and other stakeholders, the alumni, as we said, the winners and shortlists from previous years. Other partners that we work with, we have ongoing partnerships with a number of sector support organisations, and it will very much be highlighted amongst this window of the campaign with everything that we're doing with them. We have 130,000 visitors with the National Art Pass, and this includes an ever-growing cohort of 28,000 students. So a really, really engaged audience, and we every year tend to look at some dedicated student activity and engagement to really engage that audience. And if you haven't seen in the past, but something that we've done to great effect has been a student road trip. Here you can see the guys having the best time this summer. This is, I think, the Horniman Gardens from our current winner. But also, obviously, we are a membership organisation, so we can reach our membership, but we also are a source of inspiration for other culture seekers, which is where the value of our kind of marketing channels really comes in. And we'll sort of talk a bit more about those print and digital opportunities for you. And obviously, it's about engaging your existing visitors and supporters, be it on site, online, or in the community, as we said before. So a very, very sort of top line overview list of some of the owned, earned and paid for activities that we will be undertaking during the campaign period. You can see here as a visual, this is our art guide, which we produce 3 times a year. If many of you are partners with us already, you may have already been featured, but every year we obviously have a dedicated section to meeting the finalists. We've got a huge kind of 350,000 printed distribution run for this, and that goes widely across the UK to all of our museum partners as well. Emma mentioned about filming and photography, so not only to sort of help us and amplify our campaign in raising awareness for Art Fund Museum of the Year, but those photography and film assets will also be yours. And I think the value there is working with us to look at the ways that, you know, certain film, for example, can be cut and used with existing things or creating something new. We know for many finalists in the past, that's been a huge asset because they've not maybe had that capability or means to produce something of that high spec themselves in the past. All of our finalists have a venue page on artfund.org, and then they will wear the kind of moti. If you notice the iconic Museum of the Year logo with the M's, that will obviously be forevermore on that page once you become a finalist as well. We have Art Map, which is our annual membership guide, again, sort of venue listings and denoting whether you're a Museum of the Year finalist, and it really just helps sort of elevate amongst the many other hundreds that we are working with throughout the year. Email marketing program, social media channels, I mentioned before, partnerships, and yeah, depending on what is determined for 2023, some form of student engagement activity. Something that we have done on an annual basis now to great effect has been produce a marketing toolkit for all of our finalists. So this is where you'll work very closely with my team and the design team, working out obviously what will fit and work right for your organisation. You know, we've had organisations that are very much outdoor venues, so the outdoor banners have absolutely worked a treat. For some, they've had very limited maybe sort of floor or kind of wall space to put up certain vinyls, so we've had to kind of adapt and work to different specs, but we tend to produce a core set of assets that we've seen from year on that have worked effectively. So those are the sort of classic internal pop-up banners. You know, they're great for use in the front entrance, if you've got multiple entrances, in staff rooms, for particular events. Obviously they're very flexible and movable. External railing banners, you can see sort of mock up here on screen now of what that might look like. Vinyls, so they can kind of stick on the front, stick on the back, and they can work on the floor. We've had people use that to great effect, sort of leading the entranceway to reception desks. Posters, all those kind of classic poster sites on the back of toilets or around the cloakroom or wherever they might be across your organisation. Stickers have worked really well for events. Badges, really been popular, something that that staff wear proudly. You know, everyone on the front desk, everyone who's working within the gallery spaces, just being able to wear that and say, look, we're a finalist. And obviously from the creative perspective, every year we have a kind of new creative for Museum of the Year, linking very much to kind of its core premise. And yeah, we don't know what that's going to look like for 2023. We're very excited. We're sort of in the initial phasing stages at the moment, but I can promise you that it will be impactful and fun and eye-catching, and definitely something that you're going to want to put up inside your organisation. And it's also worth noting that there'll be a digital download for you as well, so we can work to any of your kind of bespoke specifications for your existing channels. And then I think I mentioned briefly that there were some things that, you know, kind of fit outside the mold. So for certain organisations, depending on who their priority audience is or a particular moment that kind of crops up for them, it might be like the Hepworth, when they won, they wanted just to really sing loud about it and put up a massive vinyl on the side of the wall. For Tate St Ives, for example, for them it was very much about sort of that community engagement. So they wanted to be sort of in the summertime, prime in the town centre with these sort of big banners taking pride of place. And then Lapworth Museum of Geology here actually wanted to use a projection. So this is on the University of Birmingham. And so on announcement day, sort of coinciding with the relevant sort of press activity, there was a huge sort of nighttime light up of, you know, their logo with Art Fund Museum of the Year in 2017. The list could go on. I'm very happy to talk about other bespoke things, but I've seen, you know, teddy bear t-shirts, balloons, the National Horse Racing Museum had we had a named race or a named horse, I think it was, with a jockey jersey. So lots of things, very much about what it is that's relevant to your organisation. So again, just a very top line. I've gone through this already, but it's just to sort of break it down for you, particularly for the channels that are Art Fund owned. So I mentioned a venue page, the promotional film, Art in Your Inbox, which is our fortnightly email that goes out if you don't already sign up to it, please do. This is where we're constantly looking and engaging and pulling together new ways and new stories to see and experience art and culture for our members. Art Guide, Art Map, and obviously Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then LinkedIn for sort of our B2B and peer raising awareness amongst the sector. So something else that we explore on a regular basis, and this is by no means set in stone in terms of what we'll be doing next year, but it's just to give you a flavour of some of the things we've done over the last couple of years. And for the last 2 years, we've worked with a marketing agency called Made, who are specialists in cultural tourism. And they very, very kindly come on board to give a series of bespoke webinars on introducing cultural tourism, and actually the very sort of free and accessible, easy ways and mechanisms that you can sort of tap into local tourist boards, working with bus groups, really to sort of work on a local level, but also from our perspective to help amplify that on a national UK-wide scale. So one of the really sort of simple things they did when we started working with the finalist cohort was just to introduce the webinar, but also hold some one-to-one so you could get some really bespoke feedback from those guys. And this is what we want to be able to do, is facilitate partnerships and bring in the specialists when it's not necessarily something that we would say we were the experts in, but we've got those connections and we can make those conversations happen. And this is all part of, you know, the benefits of being part of the finalist cohort. Arts Professional, Museum Next, Museums and Heritage Advisor, AMA, AIM, these are all of other sector support organisations that we would, this is much more, I guess, on the B2B, business to business marketing side, but it's raising awareness amongst the sector for everything that you do as best practice. And so that just leads me on to obviously what the National Art Pass represents and means within all of this. It's very much, you know, as Art Fund is a funder as well as a membership organisation, we are very well placed to sort of be giving the money, but also to be bringing in the audiences as well. And so with the National Art Pass as that hook, as that benefit and incentive for members to visit. So lots of the shortlisted museums have been part of our network for a long time prior to being shortlisted, but they may choose during that campaign window to enhance or add in an additional benefit for our members. Our members want to visit, they want to be inspired. That's our role to showcase everything that you are doing. But they also want to spend, but they want that incentive to get them through the door in the first place. We know from our members that they will spend on average £11 to £13 on secondary spend, so be that through your shop and cafe door. So any new opportunity that we can look at to engage our members, to thank them for enabling everything that we do to take place, really helps demonstrate the impact of their support. And again, it's all sort of part of feeling part of this national community. I just wanted to finish up with a couple of, well, putting the voice back into the museum's, our past finalists' view. Just a few things that have been said in the past, but also just to show some of the metrics that museums have been following at the end of the campaign. So I think a point to make here is the first quote saying, "This is really exciting. We hadn't realised we could also promote being a finalist." Absolutely. It's not just about being the winner. And actually the badge of honour as a shortlist will absolutely be something you can shout about forevermore. Really positive experiences, lots of reasons why, reinforcing for audiences why you're here, what you stand for, opening the door for new partnerships, a real sort of motivator, celebratory moment for staff, and bringing everyone together as a team, you know, off the back of everything that we've been through the last few years. And of course, absolutely, hopefully building a new relationship with us if there hasn't been one before. And again, just some of those stats: increase in visitors, absolutely what we want to see during that campaign period. Doubling of Twitter followers, increasing online traffic, strengthening support from stakeholders and funding partners. You know, can this be used to leverage additional support from other funders for bigger projects you've got coming up? And absolutely, yeah, footfall increase, especially during the week of the winner's announcement. And I'm not going to read this out to you, but I massively encourage you to head over to artfund.org and our blog, where Becca has just put the link in. This is a very recent blog post from T Paub, who were one of our brilliant finalists for 2022. Again, just to reiterate the fact that it isn't necessarily about being the winner, where the impact can really be seen and be felt. So please urge you to have a read of that. It's their words. It's not it's not just us telling you. And then just to really quickly recap, yeah, Emma mentioned sort of the timeline from that collaboration day, but yeah, once that happens, and behind the scenes we're chatting away and talking about setting up dates for these one-to-ones, we would start talking to you about getting that marketing toolkit ordered, because we absolutely want to have all print and digital assets ready for the announcement in May. May to July we define as sort of the campaign period. And then obviously we have the big winner announcement event that happens in July. But obviously from our perspective, we don't want that to be the end of our activity and relationship with you. We want that to segue into all of the wider stuff that we can do with and for you. And on that note, I'm going to hand you over to Jenny, who's just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the wider ways of working with us.
Brilliant, thanks Charlotte. Yes, so I've seen that quite a lot of you participating today are already members of the network, but there's an equal number who are not yet. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what the National Art Pass Network is, how it can benefit you, and how you can go about becoming part of it. So the National Art Pass Network is here for you whether you are shortlisted or not. It's a network of over 850 partner venues. I think we're creeping up towards 900 at the moment, all across the UK. And all of these venues have one thing in common, that they have a relationship with Art Fund, and through Art Fund with all of our supporters and the broader heritage sector. So you can see from this handy little infographic here on the right, we call the network a virtuous circle. So basically being a part of it helps benefit museums, but it also benefits National Art Pass members, students, and the broader heritage sector. In terms of what it can do for museums, it can increase your visitors, it can increase your revenue, and it can just help you get your message out to a broader audience than you might be able to alone. We have 130,000 National Art Pass members, including 28,000 students, as Charlotte mentioned earlier, and all of these are very engaged with what we're doing. The first thing you get on joining the network is your own dedicated Art Fund website. Again, if you are a MOTI finalist or a winner, you will get this anyway, but these are also available for you if you join the network sort of on an individual basis. You get your own web page, and the same way that you would apply for Museum of the Year, you also get access to the back end of your web page, where you can upload events and exhibitions, and you can send us images, and you can send us text, and you can send us things that you'd like us to promote via these web pages. The exciting thing is we've recently launched a brand new explore function on our web page, which I really encourage you to have a look at. It's a lot more technological, let's say, than the sort of previous search function, and it means that people can search for activities that are happening by location, by region, but also by topic. And as we go through, we'll be increasing the number of tags that we put on these exhibitions and events, and it really means that people can find things that are specific to their interests. In addition to the online front page, we also have a broad range of marketing support that we offer our partners. We have the Meet Me at the Museum podcast, which has just launched its new season. So if you haven't listened to that already, I really encourage you to do so. The Art Guide, which Charlotte mentioned before, Art Quarterly, the new edition has just gone out, and Art in Your Inbox, which is our weekly newsletter. That actually goes out to over 50,000 National Art Pass members, but also 120,000 subscribers who are not yet National Art Pass members. So you can really reach an extremely broad audience by being featured in that newsletter. You also get access to some of our tools and resources. The first one is Art Tickets, which is a completely free online ticketing system. We already have, I think, over 250 museums using this on a regular basis, and it really is, a competitor to some of the other systems out there, with the additional benefit of being completely free to you. If you would like a free trial of art tickets, ping us an email and we can get that set up for you. Another benefit is the Art Happens program, which is a supported crowdfunding platform. Again, we will offer this to you completely free of charge. We're holding a workshop on this in January, so if this is something that you are interested in exploring, please do let us know and we can send you all the relevant information ahead of the workshop in January. And just more generally, we have the My Art Fund login, which I've mentioned already, which allows you to access more information as a professional user on the back end of our website. The great news is this is all completely free to you. All that we ask in return is that you offer a benefit so that National Art Pass members are recognised for their support when they visit your museum or venue. If you charge admission, it could be 50% off the cost of admission, otherwise 50% off exhibitions, or if you don't charge for admissions or exhibitions, it could perhaps be a discount in your shop or cafe. We're open to discussing this with you on a completely individual basis, so please just get in touch and we can start those discussions. We have a very, very in-depth presentation called Growing Your Audience with Art Fund, which gives you a full breakdown of the demographics, the audience composition, and really everything that you would ever need to know about who the National Art Pass members are, what they're looking for with their membership, kind of visitor numbers that we've seen in the past, and how that could benefit you going forward. Because every case is so individual, we do find it's quite helpful just to have a one-on-one call to go through any questions you might have, and we can point out anything that we can support with. So please just ping us an email. We'll get a call set up and then we'll take it from there. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Jenny and Charlotte. So before we close, just a reminder that please do send in any questions if they come to mind. Oh, thank you, Alison, you've just done one. Roughly when in July the winner announcement will be, beginning, middle or end? We're looking at dates at the moment, but it's usually quite early July. But of course we will be able to confirm that in more detail. Brilliant. Okay, so I think we've got some questions floating in, but we do have one final slide, which Charlotte, I think you were going to present on our other opportunity that we have.
Hang fire, is it coming up? Yep, brilliant. Okay, so this is just a bit of a segue, so excuse the takeover, but I'm too excited not to be able to talk about this, which, if you haven't heard already, is our major new mass participatory project called The Wild Escape. So it's a major new project uniting hundreds of museums and schools in celebration of UK wildlife and creativity. And as museums, we are asking for you to sign up, take part, big or small. There is sort of no sort of right or wrong way of getting involved, but it's all about looking at the nature and biodiversity and wildlife that can be inspired from your collections, enabling school children to come on workshops or to engage online or to take inspiration from your collections and take them back to the classroom to really start looking at those themes and to create something exciting and creative, be it a story or a work of art as an output from that. So the kind of key period is from sort of January to July, where we would be asking museums to work with schools and teachers and putting on these workshops, leading into a series of sort of family events. So the more kind of general public can engage from sort of February half term, Easter holidays, leading up to Earth Day on the 22nd of April. Next year. The great thing is we have an abundance of free resources, so please don't feel like this looks too complicated or not something that you can take part on. We really, really urge you to pin it to existing activity or just look at some of the small ways that you can get involved. But obviously what we're really looking for is this kind of national participation, and we've got hundreds of museums already signed up, and we'd love more of you to get involved. So the first thing you just need to do is head to thewildescape.org, our website, find out all you need to know there. If you're already signed up and you definitely think you're going to be taking part, but you're maybe not too sure how, just give us an indication, let us know. There's a form that's available where you can indicate what you might be doing. But the best thing is we also have another webinar, if you can handle a second webinar with Art Fund this week, on Wednesday at 1 till 2:30. And we will be focusing very much on how to market this project to teachers. And so it's really exciting because it's a new audience for us. We're working very closely on developing a teacher product, learning more about what teachers want. We've got a report on our website at the moment, which is basically a year's worth of research and development with a teacher cohort, telling us exactly what they need and what support museums and galleries can offer them. So I also encourage you to find that on the website as well. And yeah, please get involved. It's new for Art Fund. It's going to be exciting. We can't wait for you guys to join us on the journey.
Thank you, Charlotte. So lots of information there, and thank you so much for joining us and for participating. We do have a little bit of time for questions. We've got some that have been submitted, so we'll just go through those. But if anything does spring to mind afterwards, again, please do contact us. So one question, the period covered autumn 2021 to winter 2022. Does it end this December or does it cover January and February 2023? No, so it would be very much, from September 2021 through to the end of 2022. So we're looking at December. And that's essentially covering, from the last winner of the prize for 2022. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you have any other questions about that, please do get in touch. Another question we've had is, do you still have to apply for one specific museum or gallery if you run a number, or can you apply as a group? Traditionally, it has just been one venue within, a group. I think it would depend on what you were applying for, if you wanted to put it under just the banner of multiple venues. So perhaps we can talk about that privately, but it's tricky from the campaign perspective to run if you made it to the shortlist to run across multiple venues. It would very much have to just be across one venue. So that is the main reason. But why don't you get in touch and then we can talk about that separately. And I think there was one other question. What percentage of shortlisted organisations have paid entry? Charlotte, do you want to take that?
I would, but I need to go away and come back to you. It's a real mix. Absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's not a prerequisite or anything to do from the application perspective. But yeah, a real mixture, I would say. So I can happily follow up and confirm that separately. But yeah, we need to go back retrospectively, I think, and have a look.
I think in the 2022 cohort, there were 3 existing National Art Pass museum partners and 2 new ones. So yeah, it does kind of give a range, doesn't it? Right, okay. Those were the questions that were submitted. So I think we might be finishing a little bit sooner, which is good because it's lunchtime. So thank you again, and thank you to Charlotte and to Jenny for speaking, and to Becca and Christian, who's been behind the scenes making this run really smoothly. That's all. But yeah, please do apply, get in touch, and yeah, we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.